CBS Sports Dennis Dodd. He joins us on 365 Sports. Yesterday, nothing to suggest new Pac-12 media rights deal is near within or with 15 months left on the current contract. So you spoke with President Robbins, and you've done that before. Did you sense any change in what he was telling you this time compared to when he had that kind of that TV or media tour 2 or 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, not much. Just that I think he was letting people know that it's going to be a while. He still has faith in their ability to do a deal, but there's a line in that story, I think, that says the best way to sum up the Pac-12 situation right now is there's nothing close, but they are hopeful. So, yeah, there's not much there for the Pac-12 right now. That doesn't mean they can't do a deal. Doesn't mean they can't do a deal that's lucrative, but it just doesn't look good right now, Smokey.
Yeah, and it seems to me, and there was also a line that I circled. It said, it wasn't because I was emboldened because we have options. This is the last time he spoke. There is no deal or no agreement where if everything blows up, we've got someplace to go. Is that referring to the fact there is no offer from the big? Well, I know that's a technical legal thing, but is he suggesting that there has not at least been, hey, we're here if you want us?
In my previous story, now others have written about it, but in my previous story involving him, he said in the same interview that the Pac-12 is 95% united. And also that, hey, we could drive to Lubbock. We could fly to Oklahoma State in 2 hours. So I asked him, I just want to follow up and make sure you understand that this might have been interpreted as, drawing a line in the sand for the Pac-12 saying, hey, if we don't get a deal, we've got options. And so what he is saying there, no, I never meant to say that. But we know they do. Yormark's been involved with at least those 4 schools. There's varying levels of interest. I would say that absolutely Arizona has options. But I just wanted to get him on the record to comment on that, because that was my take. That was certainly my take, and a lot of others when that last story was out there.
Did he reach out to you, or was this something you had been trying to get back in touch with him?
No, I called him. I was just trying to get up to speed because, there was nothing going on. There was nothing going on. I just want to make sure. Are we close? Can you give me a hint so I can plan my week? There's something going on. And what he left it at, it looks like it could be a period of months. For better or worse. They're less than 15 months out until their deal expires. It's the very latest conferences engage on their media rights 18 months out. Now, that's with the caveat that, real quick, the Big Ten signed a deal in August, but they had to wait for USC and UCLA to do it. Their deal begins July 1st.
Did you get the impression at all with visiting him that, he has also mentioned that I believe, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that he does not want a large chunk of this to be streaming, although that's where it appears to be leaning if you listen to some of the other sports business columnists and podcasts or whatever, and we've had a handful of former network executives on. Has that changed at all, in your opinion?
He told me that it's more than 50% linear, which means cable and or broadcast. I don't think there's a broadcast component to the Pac-12. That would mean 3 broadcast entities: NBC, Fox, ABC, CBS, those 4. I don't think there's that in play. So when I say linear cable, he said it's more than 50% linear cable. So there's 2 things there. They're not close, but what they have is more than 50% linear cable. That's almost saying 2 different things. But that's what he says, because it's been out there that this is over 50%. Streaming, way over 50% streaming. I've written that, which is a deal. It would be a deal breaker for some of these schools. Think of recruiting alone, and he has refuted it. So he's on the record saying that.
Okay, so if it's over 50% streaming, but the number beats the Big 12, and again, that's debatable. That seems like, for whatever reason, that's become like crossing the line in the sand or the turf war. In many ways, and it kind of just, are you going to get a deal done? And President Robbins seems to have been someone that seems to be pretty well-grounded and really understands sports, athletics, and also the university. If it's 50% or plus streaming, but beats the Big 12 number, but not much linear, is that going to force anybody to look at this and go, we cannot sign the grant of rights?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't have the answer to that. I think that would be to be determined. The other question that needs to be asked is, okay, if that's the case, then how long is the deal? It was suggested on a podcast this week by Nick Khan, story. Nick Khan is the CEO of WWE. Well, in a previous life, he was a very high-profile agent and media consultant. He helped do the current for the next SEC deal. So he knows what he's talking about. And he said the best way they should go is a skinny deal. In other words, a short deal. What he didn't say is how long that should be, or could the Pac-12 schools agree to that without a grant of rights? Whether they do or not, from my research, a rights holder is going to want something more than, let's say, 3 years. Because they want cost certainty, and cost certainty is being able to spread your commercials out over a period of years to get your money back, for lack of a better term, and to lure subscribers. Would schools agree to a grant of rights? I was told that there would be no rights holder that would do this without a grant of rights, because what's the point? If any of these schools can leave at any time, what's the value of the contract to begin with? So it's really nuanced, really complicated. And in answer to your question, I don't know if I know that.
So aren't the shorter deals, the longer the deal, the more the back part of the deal is where the big money is? So if it ended up being that, and I know I heard, and we saw Nick Khan and what he said, Alrand, and also to Marshawn, but it's like 3 years. Is it like, for example, the last years of most 5 or 7 years deal? Isn't that where all the money is?
Yeah, they're all structured so the payoff is at the end. In other words, it's small money at the beginning. It grows by a certain percentage every year, and then that's where you get that AAV, that average annual value. You hear that referred to in player contracts and these kind of contracts. So it's what they get in the middle. Like the Big 12 right now, at the end of their deal, is getting their current deal. I think their all-in number is $42.5 million. That's a pretty good number. With Texas and Oklahoma, they're going to get more than that without Texas and Oklahoma. We can get into that if you want. But, yes, they're all like that. And in response to your question, Smokey, if they did a 3-year deal, you'd almost be negotiating for the next deal as soon as you sign it. You know what I'm talking about? It'd be like a year in, you'd already be talking about a new deal. And that's another reason probably why a rights holder.
I believe President Robbins is the one that mentioned April 15th, and then the article you wrote, he's about to be out of town for 2 weeks, would take it right up until that time, and then he's not a rush. And I've really enjoyed listening to him or reading his quotes. So is that no longer even a date? And secondly, is it better to get a deal done, or is it better to get the deal right?
It's better to get the deal right, and that's what the Pac-12 is saying. When you ask them or ask people surrounding why it's taking so long, it's better to get the deal, and that's what they're hoping for. But this thing extends out. I don't know what they have right now. I don't think they have much. Everybody in the industry tells you I don't think they have much. But does waiting make it more likely? When you got the fact that Google, Disney, others are laying off people, that ESPN is absolutely saving up to take a run at the NBA when it comes on the market. Is that the right strategy, or do you think what's at hand? You mentioned Marshawn from New York Post a couple of weeks ago wrote that there was an offer on the table for the Pac-12 for Big 12 money, and the longer they waited, it was now off the table. So that begs the question: is ESPN even involved at this point? And if they're not, who is?
What would you say?
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. What would you
No,
say?
I just.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What would you say, or have you been able to get a specific percentage of streaming is a number that's too high?
No, I just know that over 50%, and this kind of answers your question from before, would probably be a deal. But I don't know that. If it's ESPN Plus, well, that's streaming. You got the ESPN brand on your product. The Big 12 has a bunch of streaming on ESPN Plus, not 50%. Does that make it more palatable? If Apple, as has been speculated, buys the whole thing, which they did for MLS, they paid them a bunch of money for 10 years of exclusive MLS content. Is that acceptable? That's only in the minds of those ADs and presidents. In consultation with their coaches, we're going to say we're the only league like this, and how do people see us, and how do we recruit, among other things. So, yeah.
I'm still interested in what he had mentioned before about being close to a deal and getting one done, and said that there had at least been that, like you mentioned, Lubbock and Stillwater and et cetera, and now it's not important. The timeline is not important. Do you feel like he's basically saying that to calm things down again? Or because there have been these back and forth, it's really almost gotten silly sometimes with these, what people feel like are one PR firm after another, going at each other. But I would still think that you would want something to be done here by the time you get to the middle. Or again, it's not my decision. It doesn't affect me. Maybe more schools I cover in the end, but that just seemed like that kind of changed a little bit.
No, I definitely think he wants to calm things down. I also think President Robbins likes to talk. That's why I called him. He picked up the phone. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. It's a whole heck of a lot better than what else is going on. And you saw in this last go round, I think the Utah president spoke. He didn't say much. There may have been another. But, look, the most compelling person in this whole thing hasn't said a word, and frankly, doesn't at all usually. Phil Knight at Oregon. I'm told he's like a duck, literally a duck, where everything appears to be calm above the water, but he's paddling like crazy below it, trying to find a home for, a deal for Oregon. They're talking about Oregon football, Oregon athletics, Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the answer to that is. So he's not talking. Not many other people are talking. And so I will say this, that's led to this vacuum of speculation. So if the Pac-12 wants to complain about, the propaganda part of this, there's one way to fix that, Pac-12. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, Kliavkoff hasn't said much lately either. Do you feel like that's kind of overrated because he's probably daily in touch, or at least constantly in touch with the presidents of all the schools?
Yeah, he said in the beginning he wasn't the same. It's a question about it. He's done a couple of podcasts that I would say were friendly to the Pac-12, and that's fine. But he stuck to his word. I have reached out to the conference when I write something to say, hey, I'm writing this, do you have comments? And it rises to that level. To be fair, and they prefer not to, so that's fine too. But people in the industry are saying, they've been worked by Brett Yormark, and we've seen it. I mean, physically, yes, physically outworked. And look what he's done with the new deal. It may not be done yet. We know for a fact that he's out there trying to get you. So what does that mean for the Pac-12, or is it beyond saving? I happen to think it's going to survive in some form, but I really have because it's the West Coast. But I'm straining to see Stanford and Fresno State playing in the same conference, if you understand. You understand the culture of the Pac-12.
Oh, yeah.
The remaining teams, that just blows my mind. I can't see it.
Dennis, have you heard anything about San Diego State being on the Big 12's radar?
Yeah, they have been from the beginning. And I've got a piece, I think it's up, at least so, where I just wrote, hey, what else does San Diego State have to do to get in the Final Four this weekend? And then there's a line in there, actually pretty high, about the Big 12 still being interested. And I think on San Diego State's part, they'd be interested if they're not happy with the Pac-12 deal. Now, the Mountain West schools only get $4 million a year, so whatever they get from the Big 12 or the Pac-12 is going to be more. I think we know that.
Yeah.
But if the Big 12 can offer more, and it makes sense academically, travel-wise, everything else, I think they've got to be interested. So I think it's sensible to include them in that discussion, because they're somewhat kind of a hot item right now. Southern California is a big hole in the Pac-12. They don't have Southern California. They could get it with San Diego State. What are they waiting for? Extended invitation. Well, maybe San Diego State's holding out to see what they can get from the Big 12. And this is all speculation, but 13 straight bowl games, bowl-eligible seasons, new stadium, number 30 market, I think. Obviously, what they've done in basketball has been amazing. And they're about to go Research One, which is the highest academic standing you can have at the school in this country. So it's never been better at San Diego State.
Well, and I wish them well this weekend as well. Last thing, and I'm not trying to put you on a spot with any kind of prediction, but among the schools, once something is official, as far as there's an offer, the Pac-12 knows it, the schools know it, who would you say right now might be looking or glancing off to the east more than anyone else?
I think the most likely candidates for the Big 12 right now from the Pac-12 are Colorado and Arizona. But look, I've already written this. Brett Yormark thinks that if he gets one, he can get the other three. So that speculation may be moot. Depending on the Pac-12 deal, if he gets one to move, may say, well, life's better over here. We may not like flying to Orlando or West Virginia, but the best place for us right now, and that's what's going to happen. That's what I think. I'm not saying.
Yeah, right. And obviously, I'm like you and Craig and Paul, we've mentioned this before, that in the end, I just still feel like it will end up okay. The Pac-12 will remain intact, whether it's adding or not. You just kind of get that feeling, because we've seen the Big 12 like on the edge a handful of times, and they always found a way to survive, and in the end, we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. What complicates it, Smokey, is that I keep telling people this: the two biggest names on the board are Oregon and Washington, because they at least perceive to have options, and they are the two biggest remaining brands in the Pac-12. Not Arizona, not Arizona State, Oregon and Washington, because they're football. Now, they're not worth a full share in the Big Ten, but at some future date, they become, let's say, available. I don't think it's going to happen right away. It could be a period of years where they become available, and the Big Ten presidents have experienced life with 16 teams. And they're looking at the travel to USC and UCLA. You know what? This would be a good travel partner. And they'll come in at half a share, maybe even less than half a share. And you got to believe at this point, Oregon and Washington would absolutely fall on broken glass to do that, to get to the Big Ten, because that's a lifetime decision. That brands your school in perpetuity. But I don't think it's going to happen right away. It would have to fall to them. Kevin Warren outgoing commissioner was pushing that for a long, long time and really pissed off a lot of people in the league. This would have to be more nuanced than anything else.
Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate your time.